So without much further ado, Liz, over to you.
Thanks, Heidi. Hi, everybody. So as you can see from my picture, this is my presenting jacket. So I made sure I had the right clothes on today. 2.5 years of not being in person, so it's great to be here. But I can't not lie, it's a bit daunting being back up on stage and presenting. I really enjoyed those couple of years where you got to present behind the screen and have your notes next to you and be very articulate. So bear with me today if I get a little bit nervous, but it's great to be back in person. So today we're going to talk a little bit about changing the focus from revenue to commercial. And as Heidi mentioned, if time permits, we'll do some Q&A at the end. Now, let me just clarify one thing. This is not a discussion on RevPAR versus GOPAR. Anybody who knows me in this room will know I am the least analytical revenue leader there is in the industry. I'm sure of it. Talking metrics is not my favorite thing. If you got me to talk about Netflix series, I'm okay with that. Ozarks is my number one at the moment, especially now that Johnny and Amber case is over. That did keep me very entertained. So this is not a conversation on RevPAR versus GOPAR. Now, revenue or commercial? I get asked this question all the time, right? What is revenue management? What is commercial? And our titles are changing from revenue to commercial. Should we be called commercial managers? Or revenue management no longer exists, it's just commercial now. And then I see teams popping up within the industry and we're the commercial optimization team. And at the end of the day, I ask my team and my colleagues one question, which is, what do you do? And it's quite simple, really. Revenue management discipline still exists. You're doing revenue management. So the nonsense of revenue no longer exists or we need to be commercial is nonsense. We need to embrace what revenue management is and we need to embrace commercial. So today we're going to spend some time talking about what is commercial, first of all. So what does that actually mean? And what it takes to be a great revenue leader as we move forward. Now, for everybody out there that likes data, I have no data in this presentation, no graphs, as I mentioned. All right, so what is commercial? Now let me caveat by saying this is Hilton. So this is the Hilton version of what is commercial. So I'll caveat that out there. If you want to disagree with me later, you can get me a glass of wine and we can have a debate. All right, so commercial for Hilton is a function. Long ago, or not that long ago really, it was called sales and marketing. And in sales and marketing, we often had our revenue leader report to the sales manager. And sometimes the revenue leader reported to the marketing manager. Who knew? Sometimes they reported to the general manager. It was whatever that structure was. Commercial was born to have all three functions report to the same leader. So sales, marketing, revenue report to the same leader. And making sure that those three functions were covered off. That was quite simple, right? So today, we got rid of the titles of directors of sales and marketing. They no longer exist. We have commercial directors at our hotels. We have commercial directors in the areas and in our regions. And ultimately, those commercial directors have a revenue leader, a sales leader, and a marketing leader report up to them. What it doesn't mean is we don't have a revenue leader that is looking after sales and marketing and doing the revenue management themselves. We don't have a sales leader who has marketing and revenue reporting to them and looking after sales themselves. So it's very clear that we have the three distinct functions. And that commercial director's job is to optimize the performance across the enterprise using those three functions, right? Those three disciplines within the function. So what does that mean if you're going to be relatively good? If I'm going to be a relatively good sales leader, I am going to have great relationships. I'm going to contract companies to come and stay at my hotels. If I'm going to be a great marketer, I'm going to build loyalty, build brand love, and get people to stay at our hotels. And if I'm going to be a good revenue leader, I'm going to make sure that I have the right product and price and optimize performance where I can. However, to be great in all of those disciplines, you need to be commercially minded. So sales can't just look after sales. They need to be able to say, what am I doing and how is that going to impact performance? I can't just own the relationship without understanding the rate and the performance mix. Our marketing team can't just generate demand if we don't have a product, a price, and let's face it, inventory available to sell, right? And our revenue leaders can't just do forecasts and optimize and do all those fancy words if they don't understand our customers and that buying behavior. So to be good, you can just know your discipline. To be great, you need to be commercially minded across all disciplines, no matter what discipline you work in. Now, what does it take to be a good revenue manager? Again, this is my view, so bear with me. Of all the disciplines, I would say revenue management has changed the most over the last 10 years. Now, I may be slightly biased, but I'd say it's definitely changed the most. And it's down to the really 3 key areas. The ability to move from a tactician to a strategist. There is the clear distinction now of analytics and revenue management. And there is innovative technology. So let me talk about what these 3 are. As we start to look at tacticians to strategists, revenue management is the discipline within commercial that moves laterally across the business. It is the linchpin for our strategy. So our revenue leaders are very much at the forefront of identifying the insights to drive the strategy and making sure whatever we're doing is deliverable and is measurable. Now, we do this with a clear strategy in mind, right? So we have our strategy and our commercial leaders drive that and own that, and our revenue leaders are leaning into that. In order to lean into that well, we need to have data-led insights, right? A great strategy needs data-led insights. It needs to have performance-focused outcomes. We need to ensure what we're doing will actually result in performance. And we should always have the customers at the heart of our decisions. Are we doing what the customers need and want in the market? Our revenue leaders at Hilton will partner with their commercial leaders to pull that strategy together. They will take the data from the analytics team and drive out the insights, pull out those insights. They will make sure that they have the right KPIs for implementation. They will then influence our sales and our marketing leaders on the direction that they need to go. And this is all ensuring that we have what is at the North Star, what the customers want, right? Long gone are the days of that revenue leader building spreadsheets or yielding. They are really about identifying those opportunities and making sure that our commercial strategy is in line with the business. So that's where we see that transition from a tactician to a strategist. Analytics and revenue management. There is a clear distinction between this now. And they shouldn't be confused to be the same, because there is such an evolution in the revenue management space, and the analytics team have also evolved a lot as well. So making sure that we have that clear distinction is very, very crucial. Our analytics team at Hilton is our brains trust. Now, I mentioned earlier, I'm the least analytical revenue leader. And why that is because I have an amazing team who know data and analytics. They utilize their business intelligence, they automate, they make the data, what I like to say, is commercially consumable. And I say this to the team all the time. You've got to make it commercially consumable because the majority of our leaders aren't analytically minded. So how do you have that data that is commercially consumable? And how do you enable those leaders to make business decisions fast? And that is the role that the analytics team have with our revenue leaders. If we want our revenue leaders to be forward-thinking, looking, we don't want them sitting in data. We don't want them looking at the past historical data. We don't want them sitting in forward-looking data. We want that to be in a consumable format to make those business decisions fast. So data and analytics, having that separated from revenue management, allows our revenue managers to be a much more forward-looking, much more solutions-focused, and much more insights-driven. Innovative technology. Now, firstly, thank you to all our technology partners out there. I know there's a few in the audience. Without you guys, our jobs would be very, very difficult. And would still be making price sensitivity tools, and I'm very thankful that I no longer have to do that, so very happy about that. At Hilton, we've invested in not only technology for our team members in revenue management and commercial, but also for our customers. Like, how do we make our customers' journey a lot easier? And how does that then enable our revenue leaders? So looking at atomized inventory, personalization, that is how technology is going to come in to help our revenue leaders. Now, we at Hilton, we have great partners like Ideas that have allowed us to do market-based pricing, agile pricing, automated forecasting, price sensitivity. The list goes on. We don't want to be doing that, right? We don't want to be doing that because we want to, again, be making business decisions fast. So our goal is to ensure that we have really great technology infrastructure for our team members. Now, as I said, we start to look at our customers' perspective as well. As I said, atomized inventory, how do we enable personalization? How do we enable what that starts to look like for our customers? Now, again, I'll do another Hilton plug here. In 2021, amidst the pandemic, we introduced confirmed connecting rooms, an industry first. So we continued to invest in technology even through our hardest years as a hotel company. And as many of you know, 2020 and 2021 were very, very difficult years. So we continued to invest in that technology and we launched confirmed connecting rooms. Now, it's an industry first and it's been a pain point for many. I know personally this is a pain point. I have 3 children. As much as I'd like to lock them in their own room and at a hotel and have no door in between us, I'll do the responsible parenting thing and ensure that I have an adjoining connecting room. Now, to confirm this in the past was an absolute nightmare. You would have to make your bookings, call the hotel, hopefully get through to the hotel or to the call center and then back to the hotel, and you're really grateful. You then had to plead and probably give them your left kidney and then turn around and say, gosh, when I arrive, am I going to have my connecting room? And Hilton solved for this, right? It seems something quite simple, quite very, very simple to go, how do we have that guest journey? So they solved for this and we started to get the technology out into the market in 2021. What we realized is the technology was working. The concept was there, people quite liked it. What we then started to see was people's willingness to pay was high. They were okay to pay for this feature. So this is how revenue management and technology started to come in, and the evolution here is we started to yield that. We started to say, okay, when do we want to charge for that? How much do we want to charge for that? And today, we've booked on booked revenue for this, 145 million in less than a year. So it's a pretty good feature, right? Which shows the innovation of technology coming through is not only for our team members, but also for our customers and making sure that we continue to evolve revenue management. So we know that revenue management has evolved. We know that it's more strategic, it's more data-led, it's more customers at our heart, but our revenue leaders must evolve too. And this is really, really important for us. Our team members need to ensure they are the greatest revenue leaders in the industry. So we want to make sure that we are continually involving with them. So the technology underwrites how they do their job. How do we then enable them to make better business decisions? And this comes down to a few things. Skills like emphasis now on skills like strategic thinking is much higher. Impact and influence, communications, the ability to know the basics across the commercial functions. You must know sales, you must know marketing. You must know how to pull those levers in those functions to drive your strategy. We have skills where we have that enterprise leadership mindset. I don't just sit and do what I want to do. I'm going to work across this industry. And this industry is dynamic. Skills like your Excel spreadsheets, price sensitivity tools, they are redundant, right? They're going to sit with great technology solutions and they're going to sit with great data and analytics teams. They are redundant to our revenue leaders of tomorrow. So making sure that we continue to focus on that. Centralization will also continue to be key, especially when we're looking at our skills from our revenue leader. If we're taking our revenue leaders off property, which at Hilton we have RMCC, where we have over 90% of our hotels using our revenue management consolidated center. It's great, right? we need our team members to over-index on communications. Because if they can communicate and influence from afar, that is much higher skill than just being able to build an Excel spreadsheet. They need to know how to consume the data. They need to know how to read the data. But as I said, our analytics team, I tell them all the time, make it commercially consumable. You don't have to make it complex. You need to make it simple so people can make that decision fast. We will see centralization increase more and more. We've also got our marketing and e-commerce team centralized. We're looking at our meetings simplified, centralized, so for small meetings. How do we pull that into one sort of location and pull off the properties, take that pressure away? And we need to do that. If anything that COVID has taught us is we're going to have issues with personnel, getting them back on property, right? Centralization will be key here. We're going to have labour shortages, we're going to have high costs, and we need to manage those P&Ls and take that risk away from our owners. From my experience though, it is often the revenue manager who is most confused. They don't know their role in the commercial function. They often just don't see their role as important at times as sales or marketing. And they want the fancy title of commercial. And they want to change their title to be commercial. But we really need our team members to embrace revenue management and embrace revenue and be the revenue leaders of tomorrow, because that is an exciting function to be in. When you start to see that lateral move across the business, you start to see that driving the strategy, being at the forefront of that, it's a very important part of our commercial function. So I really get upset when I hear the revenue teams go, I want to change my title. No, you don't. You want to be revenue and you want to own that. So my last point is to all you commercial leaders out there, surround yourself with great revenue leaders. Make sure if you're looking after sales, marketing, revenue, you have great revenue leaders. Great revenue leaders will enable you to move fast. They will enable you to have a great commercial strategy. They'll make sure that you have a plan that is backed up by data and insights. It's important that you have a data-led plan. They will make sure that you don't get in the inertia of looking at data, but start thinking about the decisions you need to make. That is what a great revenue leader will do. An okay revenue leader will build you a spreadsheet. All right, that's all I have from this point, but I think we have lots of time actually for,
we do have
for Q&A.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Liz. If you maybe we take a seat. If you have questions, please use Slido, or if you just want to raise your hand, we will have someone come with a microphone to give you that microphone to ask your question. I have a few questions for you.
Yep, go for it.
All right. Now you dodged that question.
I have no notes.
You've got no notes. That's fantastic.
So you're going to get the raw me.
That's perfect. That's exactly what we want. So you mentioned you have dodged that question on RevPAR versus GOPAR. What's your take on that, though?
It's nonsense.
Elaborate, please.
So, look, it's an interesting one, right? So we hear this as well. Like, sometimes we want to overcook metrics, especially in our industry, especially revenue leaders. And this is what I mean, revenue leaders of tomorrow. Get your head out of these metrics. Look, GOPAR is an interesting way of looking at our business, right? We look at it. It's a finance metric, right? It can be manipulated. It cannot be a revenue metric. So if GOPAR is able to be manipulated, it's a finance metric. Of course, we'll look at that. But if we wanted to look at it through a revenue lens, RevPAR's our North Star, right? It will always remain the North Star as we continue to look at market share. We continue to drive that. We are in the business of, hotels, and the majority of that is rooms revenue, right? Now, we have certain hotels that drive massive other revenue streams. So at that point, I think RevPAR becomes a much more interesting metric to want to discuss and to start to have a look at that. But GOPAR for me is a finance metric.
Excellent. All right, we've got some good support. Anyone else? Anyone who'd like to? Oh, we've got some questions. Okay, would you mind, someone, can we have a microphone over there? If you just hold on.
So it's always great when ex-colleagues want to ask you questions, right?
I think the microphone is on the way. The microphone is on the way, if we just give it a moment. Just make sure it's on the record.
I was going to say, what are you going to ask me, Mark?
Good morning. Thank you, Liz, for a great presentation. My name is Mark. I'm from IHG. Love your concept or the progress you're making on the centralization aspect across many of the functions. What have you felt? Again, this is I guess open to how you're kind of progressing. But have you got any kind of pushback or owners, general managers, they love to touch and feel somebody in their hotel. What is how do you get over the resistance factor to pulling that physical human being away from their operation?
Yeah, look, this is a great question, Mark. I actually just had a general manager really recently in Australia, I won't say names, but really resisted RMCC. Now, RMCC it's not a choice, right? So we stand by our centralised revenue management team, and that centralised revenue management team is awesome. And why we stand by that is because we invest in their training and education. We invest in their technology. We have an analytics team that supports them and a BI team. They do not get stuck in the inertia of making stuff and manipulating data. We allow our analytics team to do that. So the revenue team, and there's multiple layers, right? So there's leadership there if we need leaders to step in. Our revenue team is great. So we really stand by this. We've made it mandatory for all our managed hotels. Our franchise hotels, it's a no-brainer for any of our focus service. We start to question if, we have to give some of our franchise owners the choice. And I say some because our focus service, we don't. We say that has to remain for the first 2 years of them opening a hotel. Now, for pushback, I go back to my general manager in Australia. Let's just face it, it's Australia, it's not a hard market, right? And I like to make eye contact with someone over a table. I like to have the spreadsheets in front of me. And we went really through this a lot. And I really asked the question, and his pushback was the owner doesn't want it, which to be quite honest was nonsense. Like the owner, we're the owners, right? We're the management company of this hotel. So what I realised, it was the general manager that had an issue here. And what I said to him was, what makes you different from Cedric, who looks after Hilton Singapore? And let's just face it, Hilton Singapore is a big hotel, beautiful hotel on Orchard Road. And what makes you different from that general manager? Because that general manager embraces RMCC. They are driving one of the highest ADRs of a newly opened hotel that you will see, and they continue to drive that. What makes you different? And his only thing he could come back to is, I want to eyeball someone across the table. It's not going to be good enough, right? So I think it's about really staying strong, Mark, to this is the right thing for our business to drive performance. Our job as Hilton is to drive performance for our owners, and we do that in the best way that we know possible. And putting someone on property that has no analytics infrastructure around them, no leadership infrastructure around them, and reports to a general manager that has no revenue experience is not going to drive performance. So we very much stay strong to that, but that is embedded into our leadership. So we would not have Alan agree, or Paul, our VP of Ops in Australia, agree to have one hotel out of that program.
Excellent. Thank you. Thank you. I hope that answers the question. Okay.
Stay strong, Mark.
We have time for one more question over there.
Sorry, Mark kind of asked the question that I wanted to ask, but to start off with Liz, you started the presentation saying there's going to be some stage fright. There was none of that. So great stuff.
It's all on the inside, Jimmy.
The question I have is related to that. What are the issues that you see in centralization? I mean, do you see issues around talent, cultures, languages, time zones?
Our RMCC center is all based in Shanghai, right? And let me tell you, it's been an interesting ride in Shanghai with our teams, and especially over the last few months. We have had no business performance challenges over the last 2.5 months with our team all being forced to be at home, not even leaving. Their positivity remains strong. Languages remain strong. We have, we can source the right talent in Shanghai. There is a massive talent pool there that we can source. Often our team members there speak more than one language, and they speak English better than me as an Australian, much more articulate. But we don't have any challenges there. You know, the challenge we hear a lot is people are like, you can't do F&B revenue management afar. We can, again, with the right technology solutions, the right data and analytics, we can do that. So those challenges don't necessarily exist. When we look at our plan moving forward, you know, talent is our number one, right? You've got to have a continuous talent pool. And the tough thing for me is I have people steal my talent all the time within Hilton. So they get a lot of opportunities to go within Hilton outside and to do different roles into our hotel openings team, into commercial roles sitting in the Shanghai office, into hotel roles as commercial directors. We see that as a career path. So having that talent pool is really key. But that's partnerships with universities, partnerships with other industry organizations to make sure that we have that talent pool coming through. Touch wood, we're okay. We have a strong talent pool.
Excellent. That's good to hear. I hope that answers the question a little bit. I've got one final question. Oh, sorry, was there another one? Oh, yes, sorry. There are actually a few more.
Good morning. Thank you very much for your very stimulating sharing this morning. Now that I heard the word talent, that sparked my interest. My name is Sanmi Choi. I'm the Dean of the College of Business Management in Hanoi, Vietnam. And this is like a 2-year brand new university, which is just built in collaboration with the Cornell University and also founded by the biggest business conglomerate in Vietnam called Vingroup. So as a founding dean, we have 2 degree programs. One is, of course, business administration, and the other is hospitality management. So as I design a new degree, of course, my background is all revenue management. I know Sherry's going to speak too soon, but I'm her first PhD student in the revenue management at Cornell. So we are introducing revenue management as the discipline, one of the most important disciplines. But when I heard the word commercial services and commercial, this word made me wonder whether I named that concentration properly. It probably should not be revenue. So it's very stimulating to hear that these two, sales and marketing and also revenue, are getting merged, becoming into one discipline, which is very desirable. But this word commerce is very stimulating to me. So I asked Adeline, is this word common? Because I just come back from the academic. So she said, I think it's more Hilton thing instead of being like a really the industry thing yet. Yeah. So sorry for about this like a long introduction. So I'm very stimulated. So I'm just wondering, because whenever we choose the vocabulary really leads the future trend as well. So for all the possible words you could have chosen to combine the two, revenue and sales and marketing, because I was thinking of many words in my mind as well. So if it is the Hilton thing, I'm wondering, why do you choose the word commercial services? Commerce, this is the word I hear most often. So you can tell us a little bit about that. That'll be very insightful. Thank you.
Yeah, I don't think it's necessarily a Hilton thing. It would be interesting. We've got people here, and I know...
We've got a few commercial officers in the room, actually, who are commercial officers in their respective companies. I agree with Liz. It's not just the Hilton thing, because she was actually asked to speak on the topic.
No, and it's okay, because I have revenue and commercial in my title, right? So, and I get it, but it is becoming more of an industry word because of the fact I think you have sales, marketing, revenue, right? You can't no longer say you're a VP of sales and marketing without having revenue there, because revenue has to go across that. And again, you cannot have revenue report to marketing or sales. There's a bias there, right? And again, your revenue leaders need to be lateral. I always say it's like revenue management's like Switzerland between sales and marketing, right? We're going to balance this and balance that approach. We've had 2 years where we're running transient business. Marketing has over-indexed in that space, right? But that doesn't mean that we're constantly over-indexed now. So that's a nice lesson to our marketing leaders at the moment. We have to go and build our sales and build our base again. So I do think it's not a Hilton buzzword at all. It is really about elevating the need to have 3 distinct pillars to drive a strategy that will optimize performance for your hotel.
I agree. I was just wondering about the word commerce. Do you agree with the word commercial services?
Yeah, I do agree with the word commercial. I don't think there would be any other word when you think about it. And my husband's in another industry. They use commercial as well to explain sales, marketing, and revenue. So I think I don't even think it's a hospitality word at the moment. I think what you'll find is it's becoming across the organization. However, I did caveat by saying commercial is what Hilton believe it is, because I do know in other organizations, commercial doesn't exist if sales, marketing, and revenue report to it. It may look and feel a little bit different.
Yeah. Okay, thank you. All right, now, do we have another question? Was there another question? All right, one other question just up here. And that would be the last one.
My name is Anders. I'm from Stockholm, Sweden. I've been in revenue management since the 1980s, so that's
excellent.
a long time. I
have
have a
embraced
question
it.
for you about total revenue management. What's your take on that? Is that we've been discussing that for maybe 10 years, but nothing is happening. What's going on at Hilton with total revenue management?
Yeah, I was much more enthused about it probably 10 years ago. Again, I do query at times, is it just, again, the ability to overanalyze something? And that's probably grown, that logic has grown very differently with me in my career, and I'll sort of put that there. Is, again, when you really start to take that step back and simplify it, we really need to drive that room's performance. But we have certain hotels. So I don't think, you have to look at your business and go, we have certain hotels in certain markets. Like a Conrad Tokyo has a massive F&B, wedding, MICE sort of market. We need to make sure that that hotel has a total revenue focus. But the technology and the tools aren't nowhere near where the rooms delivery is. And I think that the rooms piece will sort of always win in that sense. We have, making sure that we have our RevPAR, we're making sure that we're winning, that's our market share. That's not what we're measured across the industry. But for certain hotels, we certainly should be looking at it through a total revenue lens and making sure we have the right mix, making sure we have the right competitors and the right spend of the wallet across the consumers. As technology evolves, I'm sure we'll get more and more into it. Again, I sort of go back pre-pandemic, I'd say it was a little bit more hot on our mind. Now it's about, let's get our business stabilized again, and then let's maybe step it up to go, what else is there? But what I would say is we don't get caught in the metric. We get caught into, again, how do we solve for different business decisions and different mixes of how we think about total revenue management.
All right, okay. I'm afraid that's all we have time for.
Thanks.
We've had a lot of questions. Before we go, we're going to go for a tea break now, but before that we have a little bit, you can see that screen up here. Liz was talking about upskilling and reskilling your team. So if you're interested in that, HSMAI offers quite a few courses and opportunities for your staff to really, maybe move into the revenue space or just upskill their abilities. So please, there's a flyer on your table. Check that out for some of those courses. And now what we're going to